One thing I always hate when I'm playing certain games is that last boss battle that just seems to go on and on, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And at some point, I'm just like, just end it already. And that's how I'm kind of getting the feeling with this recent battle. And I'm Standing on a Million Lives Season 2. Just got done with the third and fourth episode of this new season, and this is my thoughts on it. For the most part, in these two episodes, we essentially follow the team as they are fighting against the orcs. So it's just pretty much an all-out battle at this point. They keep having waves after waves of these orcs coming into the different villages and strongholds, and they're fighting back. And obviously, the big new surprise at this point is Yatsuya's new weapon that he has crafted using his blacksmith ability, which is a gigantic crossbow, basically, with like metal rods that actually can pierce these orcs. And this is obviously turning the tide of the war. Everybody's fighting. They're seeing success. But obviously the success does not continue on for very long as they start running out of ammunition and having to actually fight face to face. They end up losing a couple people at this point, which unfortunately for one of them is extremely, extremely flagged. We open up an episode with this whole backstory of this guy and his extreme misfortune as the people that he worked, or the nobles that he worked with, end up being pretty much overthrown, and the entire kingdom is chasing down all these soldiers and killing them, and he's on the run with his friends, and eventually to the point where now he is fighting alongside the guy that he looked up to and looked forward to actually serving before everything went to crap. And yeah, this guy ends up pretty much jumping on an orc to try to stop him from invading the stronghold and ends up getting smacked and knocked out. And yeah, they had another guy that they've been watching for a while now. He ends up dying. And to top it all off, as they are running out of orcs to kill, they're getting into the castle again, and we have Shindo and this commander basically confronting the queen herself, who is after the ship full of all the children of the village. That's when an earthquake happens. And then, oh yeah, by the way, this earthquake's being created by a volcano. The volcano is erupting. Everything's being wiped out. Tidal waves coming in. Oh yeah, by the way, big dragon coming out of volcano. So, like I said, it's like we have orcs, then we have earthquake, then we have volcano, then we have tsunami, then we have dragon. So it just kind of keeps getting worse and worse. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they overcome this dragon, or if they're going to have to fight the dragon. So that's going to be a big question mark at that point. So, and if in this situation, it could be a simple case of this is possibly this god that these, villagers claim that it is, and maybe they just need to sacrifice a cow, and that'll complete the quest, and they don't even have to fight the dragon. But that'd be too easy. So we have to fight the dragon. We will probably fight the dragon. But yeah, several talking points in this particular episode. So one cool thing, Tokatate, she ends up actually leveling up while they're shooting this crossbow, and now she has gained a new class, and that's Hunter. So for once, she actually seems like she's enjoying herself. She's always like this downer person in the background. Now suddenly that she has this new class of Hunter, which she's equating to being this magical girl that she's obsessed with. Now she's super happy, and she's now a hunter, and she's able to shoot bow and arrows or something now. So good on her. Obviously, like we've kind of mentioned, Yatsuya has this new blacksmith skill. He is crafting these weapons that can pierce these orcs. But not only that, like you talked about in the first two episodes impressions, he's able to craft weapons that the other heroes can use so they can be more versatile. And this obviously equates to this crossbow they're using. It was interesting to see that this other blacksmith made more bullets for it, but they can't touch the bullets, but they can shoot the crossbow because he created the crossbow. They just can't touch the bullets. So that complicates things. I was kind of curious if they were going to go into this aspect that if he just takes that bullet and maybe reforges it a little bit, maybe then he can actually use it, but it doesn't seem like he'd be able to touch it to begin with, so it doesn't really matter. Interesting, though. Very interesting, though. The more frustrating thing, there was two very frustrating aspects of these last two episodes that kind of got me scratching my head. For the first case, as we mentioned with the first two episodes, they were getting back into the whole aspect that Yatsuya has a kind of a morbid way of seeing things. He's very kind of goal-oriented to the detriment that he doesn't see things around him as being valued in certain ways. Like, he values some lives more than others, but not in a way that he's bonded to these certain lives, so that he sees them as a means to an end. That, he puts value upon people's lives themselves as some being more crucial to him reaching his goal than others. So he specifically says one thing in that these two I'm willing to sacrifice them if it means getting you two to the end goal because you're more important. And again, it wasn't stated in a way that you're more important to me because I like you or that that you're special to me. It was that was a means to a goal. And this frustrates me, as everything else that Yatsuya says frustrates me, because I don't understand him. I've yet to understand him, other than the fact that he is, I guess, cold, and he sees people as tools, which I guess is fine. But the problem is that while I was going along with that and expecting it to tell a cool story, he ends up countering it with him actually being grievance to people he has just met. So we have his mentality here where everybody is objects to his means to an end, and that he values some lives in a very nasty way. One of the guys even points it out, it's eugenics. And he nods to it, like, yeah, sure, whatever. He doesn't, like I said, he does not value people as people, but as tools. But yet, it counters it, and it's breaking its own rules that it's created for Yatsuya, and the fact that he's crying for the loss of these two guys that end up dying during this last two episodes. So I don't know. I'm just expecting that at some point he's going to turn around and go, oh, well, I cried about this person, so maybe I don't really feel that way. So it might end up becoming a tool to correcting his mentality. But as it stands now, it's just being inconsistent with how it's creating this character. He shouldn't mourn these characters because he just met them and they're a tool to his end, as he stated earlier. So we'll see. But as usual, I don't understand Yatsuya. I probably never. I'm at this point, I'm just kind of not wanting to worry about it anymore, and just kind of whatever Yatsuya says. It is really kind of hitting on the idea of how goal focused he is, which is, like I said, perfectly fine for a character. So we'll just go with it at this point. The other troubling thing was his kind of mentality of seeing things the same way that this orc queen sees it. And that was another thing that I'm like, yeah, that's perfectly logical. That makes sense. So essentially, we're trying to paint the heroes not being the heroes. That you essentially have Tori's like, hey, it's good to be the hero. Let's go save everybody. And Yatsuya's like, no, we're not actually the heroes. We are the bad guys. And he's like, what are you talking about? Well, back here, they were on this island. These orcs showed up and we're going to kill them and eat them. The humans on the islanders, essentially were saying, hey, make a pact with us. We will feed you cows, and an agreement that you won't eat us. And the orcs, even though they didn't have to, agreed to this, and thus began this pact of them feeding the cows. Well, eventually the orcs became too high populated, and they started running out of cows, and in fear of them being eaten again, they decided to kill the orcs. And so in Yatsuya's eyes, this means that they're the villain. The islanders are the villainers, because it's like, that just make no sense. Like they've been on this island for 900 years. Invaders come in, start eating them. They stop them from eating them by giving them cows in a pact. And then eventually, when they run out of cows, they decide to, well, it's them or us now at this point. We're running out of the food, and now we're going to become the food. In Yatsuya's eyes, apparently that means they're the bad guys because they broke a pact. But again, we're not looking at logic here. We're looking at Yatsuya. I see it technically from the standpoint of the orc. The orcs feel that they trusted the humans, and the humans broke that trust, and that humans are savage. And then at the same time, again, it's that idea of, wait, orc queen, you're the savages because you came here and started eating the humans. Why is them killing you after that bad? I don't know. Logic. I understand the idea of seeing it from the other side, the side of the villain, which I'm always cool with. I really like the idea of making the mindset of the villain logical, like understanding the villain. Like I mentioned before, that's some of my greatest shows of all time. Like the first season of The Promised Neverland was great because that you understood the villain. But not working here. It's not working here. But either way, I understand it from the orc's perspective. I don't understand it from Yatsuya's perspective. So that's what I mainly mean there. So I really did like the speeches, the speech from the two priestesses. I really did like that idea. They basically finally equated what's happening now to the songs they always sung. this idea of, the red pillar, the volcano, the white wall being the tsunami, all these things, the concepts of the knowledge that they essentially were supposed to pass on. Them as these shrine maidens were supposed to pass on this knowledge of their ancestors, this 900 years of knowledge, and they failed to do so. And in their eyes, they failed to do so. They were told through this knowledge that you're not supposed to build on the beach side or near the beaches because of this. All this knowledge that they were told to not do this because of this, they never passed it on properly. So they built on the beaches, they grew crops, and they thought they were prospering, but in fact, they did not heed all the warnings. And even still, they have this sense of, we're going to rebuild, we're going to get stronger, we're going to overcome this kind of stuff, which I really did like all that kind of stuff. That was really cool. I do have a theory at this point, and that is I'm really looking to see what is going to come of Yatsuya's blacksmithing. Now, the initial thing is like, okay, yeah, this is cool. This concept is actually interesting because, as always with this series, what I've always been fascinated by is how they have this character who is a main character, is always given like really crappy classes, but he figures out how to use them in a clever and interesting way in order to overcome challenges. How does a cooking class take on monsters? Well, using the ability to see where the internal organs are to know where the critical points are. Well, in this case, he's using the blacksmithing to create weapons to make his team more diverse. Their abilities and what they can use in combat more diverse, which is really, really cool. But I'm curious, with this particular case, he's essentially introducing something into the world itself. So I am really curious with the fact that they've already introduced the concept that in between quests, time travels very quickly in this world. We've established that with Kanabel, who is this girl who was a soldier. They left, and when they came back for this quest, she's now an adult. She has children, so time has progressed a lot faster. So I'm curious, now that he's introduced specifically a crossbow into this world, and a new hatchet. I don't know if that would be really anything important, but really specifically this crossbow. What is going to happen when they come back later for the next quest, and time has progressed since he created this crossbow? Now, I don't know that crossbows may already exist technically in this world. He just created a different one that's kind of slightly different. But it does beg the question, when they come back, are they going to have guns? How much is going to... is this possibly going to affect the world after this next time jump? So I'll be really curious to see if that's something that will actually come into play if they possibly kill this dragon and then come back later. But definitely interesting. And big question mark, maybe possibly this dragon is the one they're supposed to be fighting in the modern time. Maybe this dragon will break the barrier between the worlds and we'll go straight into the whole apocalypse aspect. But I doubt it. But we'll see. It could possibly be it. But yeah, we'll see. That's my thoughts on the third and fourth episode of I'm Standing on a Million Lives second season. Hope you guys enjoyed my impressions. If you did, leave a like down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the 2 episodes. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I thank you all for watching. And y'all take care.